Happy Friday, fellow Texans. Welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Welcome to the big show. Plenty to talk about today. You know, we have riots that are expected here in our own backyard over the weekend all across America, but even notably here in North Texas. And then we have the Israel-Iran back and forth here. Iran got a wake-up call last night with the series of strikes. They've already retaliated. Israel's already retaliated back. Now Iran's retaliated a second time. So this is more than a slap fight. You know, I really felt like what happened last April. Do you remember that when we had to break into coverage on a Saturday because Iran had sent 200 projectiles of some sort, some missiles, some drones, some whatever. And we were thinking, is this going to be the big flare-up? No, almost none of them hit their target, and there weren't, but the most minimal of casualties. I'm not even sure, did anyone even die from that? I know there were some injuries, but that seemed to be just a quick tit for tat. Iran was doing some sort of action just to save face, so it didn't look like they were doing nothing after an Israeli strike, and then everything died down. This already seems to be a little bit bigger than that. That doesn't mean this is going to be the start of World War III. That doesn't mean this can't be done in a couple weeks. Netanyahu's already said this is a couple week thing. We're not going to put a time limit on it here, but Israel has struck Iran, and then immediately he explained himself last night.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat.
All right, now say hello to my first guest, Ron Holloway. He's the author of Anti-Fragility. He also has a background in being a special agent. And, you know, I am quite familiar with you because I've heard you on the morning show, and I think you've even been on this show a couple of times. But for new people, explain your background and how you're going to have so many answers to this situation. Okay, so we had a little bit of an inkling earlier this week, Ron Holloway, when a bunch of embassies were told, "Hey, you need to get out, you need to clean out of here." So I guess that's a sign we had a heads up on this. So did they? You think they needed Trump's approval, or they just told them, "Hey, we're going to do this. You might want to go ahead and get your people out of the way"? Was this done with American equipment, or was this all Israeli weapons? Ron Holloway, we have the expectation that this could last up to 2 weeks. Does that mean they have this all planned out, or they're just going to be on alert for the next 2 weeks? So, Ron Holloway, we've heard, all of us have heard for decades now that Iran is just days or weeks away or months away, maybe, from getting a nuclear bomb. Do you think that's really the predicate for this, or is that just an excuse to slap down the guy who's been funding all the terrorism, whether it's Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, and all the other, bad actors in the region? Yeah, well, how have they been so wrong on Iran getting the nuke? Because we've been told, I've got audio clips going back to, like, what's the oldest one, like 2012, 2009, with people concerned about Iran getting the nuke, but they never did. All right. Well, keep an eye on it. We'll have to have you back on. Thank you very much. This is Ron Holloway, defense expert. I appreciate your time. How can they find your work online, Ron? All right. Thank you very much again, Ron Holloway on the James Show. Now, coming up next, I think this is going to be like last year when you just saw Iran getting slapped down and learning their lesson. But a lot of people are acting like this could be the next big war. Which side are you on? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. It's the James Show on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, homeowners. We're getting some more storms. We're not done with the bad weather. You can look outside and see the clouds. If you have any doubt, if you have a shingle missing, if you see any water leaking, if you see any boards looking wavy on the side of your gables, it doesn't hurt anything to call Blue Ribbon Roofing, because to go and get your house checked out and get your peace of mind, the inspection's free. They don't charge like a service fee to come out there and get on your roof and take pictures and give you a report and leave you with a bunch of paperwork. They'll let you know too if your roof is just fine. They'll just dust their hands off. You did a good job, and be on about their way. They're not going to try and upsell you. They're not going to try and find something to replace. In fact, there was nothing really to replace on mine except for one creaky board. So you can do what I did. Go to blueribbondfw.com. And before you schedule your event, before you schedule the free roof inspection, go look at some of the 5-star reviews. There's hundreds of 5-star reviews. See what people have gone through in North Texas and get a little bit of peace of mind by not just trusting the guy on the radio, but also all your neighbors with the 5-star reviews on Google. And then schedule your free home inspection with John, Tish, and Trevor, the family that runs Blue Ribbon DFW, a family-run company here in North Texas for 31 years. Go to blueribbondfw.com. blueribbondfw.com. Hey there, happy Friday. Welcome back to the James Show. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. In the midst of a current strike happening right now on Israel from Iran with live video coming in, we're going to go back to the live coverage feed from the Fox News channel. All right, that is live coverage from Fox News Channel as they have live cameras on a strike from Iran on Israel. Now, we've already done a few back and forths. There was a big strike started by Operation Rising Lion yesterday, Israel striking Iranian targets. We have reports of a lot of destruction, actual deaths. Iran's responded, Israel's responded. Iran's second response is what you were just hearing there, live from Fox News. We will continue with coverage on the Israel Iran military exchange coming up. 800 288 9227. 800 288 9227. I think this is just going to be Iran getting slapped down and brought to the table. Do you think this could be the start of the next big war? 800 288 9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, serious story today. When the James Show started, I was watching some live pictures via Fox News of Tel Aviv, and missiles and rockets were raining down. It seems to have quieted down here in the first half hour of the Friday show, but I really doubt this is going to be quiet from here on out. This is the latest in an exchange of strikes that we had. The big one coming yesterday, Israel striking Iran, taking out purportedly their nuclear capabilities, and some important leaders, maybe some important scientists were thrown in that list of bodies that they're starting to pile up. The latest info that we've had since the James Show started is that at least in this next wave of missiles, this last wave that we were talking about at the beginning of the show, it's been reported that the United States is actually helping Israel shoot them down. Now, this is an important development because this isn't now us watching two independent third parties have a very deadly slap fight. This is us participating in a hot war. This is us participating in another war zone. So, as it stands now, we're already in a hot war with Russia. We just haven't admitted it yet. We just haven't put boots on the ground. But American weapons are being used not just against Russians, but against Russians in Russian territory. And then here we have the United States assisting in this front as well. And I'm hoping this is the optimistic James that you're talking to here. I'm hoping this is going to shake out just like it did last April when Israel made a strike on Iran. So Iran had to do the little hissy fit retaliation back. They got to brag that they launched 200 missiles at Israel and it did all kinds of good damage and stuff. But you and I know that most of those were shot down. Most of those drones and missiles didn't even make it to their target. The handful that did, some of them fell harmlessly. The actual casualties, whether it's injuries or death, was absolutely minimal last April. But here we are 14 months later. And this looks like what seems to be maybe a little bit bigger version of what we saw then. So the optimistic view here is Israel has some strategic interest. Oh, man, these videos are so cool when they're shooting missiles out of the sky. This looks like Missile Command if you had an Atari back in the day. Ooh, that one made it. But the lesson we learned from last year's attack is there's very little Iran can do. So I am under the hope that Israel has some targets it wants to take out. It's probably taken them out or maybe has a few cleanup strikes to go. They have put a timetable on it of this is going to last at least 2 weeks. I don't even think it'll take that long. And I'm really hoping that we can just dust our hands with this, come to some new agreement within a week or two, and then move on. There seems to be a strong contingent of people who thinks this is going to be the next ongoing conflict. This is going to be the next Ukraine. This is going to be the next Israel-Gaza conflict. You know, the Israel-Gaza conflict, while we say it's been going on for thousands of years, the current iteration of the bombing of Gaza and the military action and the blockade stems from the October 7th attack that happened in 2023. Do I have that right? Yeah, I'm saying that right. So it's been, a year and a half, almost closer to 2 years in this latest flare-up between Israel and the Palestinians, this time in Gaza. So no one knows for sure what it was going to be. There were people in the April attacks from last year who was saying this is just going to open up World War III. This is going to be another war. It's not going to stop. And it died down almost immediately. Now, I'm not being Pollyannish. I'm not ignoring the threat of Iran having a nuclear weapon. But I am going to share with you some suspicions coming up next. I have the Audiotron 3000. I have the time machine. We're going to go back into threats of Iran past in the next segment. And you're going to hear from both sides of the aisle. Some of these will be from like Megyn Kelly on Fox News. Some of these will be from Scott Pelley on 60 Minutes. Some of it might be Leon Panetta. Some of it might be Antony Blinken. But throughout the last couple of decades, this has been a repeatedly wrong prediction that just keeps persisting. Iran is days away. Iran's weeks away. Iran's months away from having a nuclear weapon. So what's different about this time? We'll cover that next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. 288 9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Is this Iran getting slapped down? Is this going to be over in a week or two? Or do you think this is the beginning of the next protracted war? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Let me give you the case for optimism here. The case for optimism, as explained in my brain, comes from the fact that I've been doing talk radio for almost 23 years. But it's a pattern you probably noticed too. You've been warned that Iran is just months away, weeks away, days away from getting the nuclear weapon. But you've been hearing that for years and years, and it never comes true. So I am skeptical of that claim. Any claim that's made just over and over and over and over that continues to be wrong. Anyone's naturally skeptical. The boy cried wolf. Now, there's also the problem with that is Iran probably would like to have a nuclear weapon. And on a long enough time scale, that prediction is going to be correct. But you can also just predict every day that it's going to rain tomorrow. It's going to rain tomorrow. It's going to rain tomorrow. And even if you're in the Sahara Desert, eventually you're going to be correct. So let's go through the ghosts of Iran past in the media and just review some of these predictions and see what they sound like compared to the news that's happening today. And if we see any more missiles falling on either Iran or Israel, we'll break back into Fox News coverage. But we're going to back up not too far here. We'll just go in reverse order. This is a little over a year ago, April 24th. 2024. This was the predicate for the last Iran-Israel flare-up, was that Iran, this is Fox News, was just weeks away.
We also learned that Iran is apparently, quote, weeks away from the capacity to develop a nuclear bomb. That statement made Tuesday by the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency.
See, so that's not the Democrats or Republicans saying it. The International Atomic Energy Agency was saying that. They're just weeks away. Well, sir, they said that like 65 weeks ago. How many weeks are you talking about? Let's go a little further back in history. This is going to be March 1st, 2023. On a station WION, Iran's 12 days away.
A top U.S. official has claimed that Iran has enough fissile material to build a nuclear weapon in about 12 days. Iran, however, has denied the report's findings, calling it malicious.
Yeah. That kind of, you already get the point. The next one, Antony Blinken, the guy who's Secretary of State under the previous president, under Biden. Iran is weeks away. Guess when he said this? We're going to go back in time just 2 more years. This is going to be from February 3rd, 2021.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken claims that Iran is only weeks away from a nuke.
What, weeks away. So that was over 4 years ago. That's like 4.5 years ago. Let's go back in time again. Here's Fox News. We go back to 2015 for this one, 10 years ago. What were they saying?
For example, they say Iran's breakout time for developing a nuclear weapon will go from 2 to 3 months to at least 1 year.
First of all, the question that raises to me is, how did we get to the point where Iran is 2 months away from a nuclear weapon?
Well, it's easy to say 10 years later that we weren't in a place where Iran was just 2 weeks away or 2 months away or 2 days away from a nuclear weapon. Let's go even further back in time. 2013. Someone else was in power back then. What were they saying about Iran? How they were about to get a nuke? Let me guess.
Tension is growing as we get new reports emerge on Iran's nuclear program. Now Israel is threatening to act after reports say Iran could be less than a month away from building a nuclear weapon.
See, so it doesn't matter if Trump's in power, if Biden's in power, if Trump's in power the first time, if Obama's in power. It's the same story. I'm supposed to be scared that Iran is weeks away, months away maybe, from a nuclear weapon. Let's go back even further. And I'm both sides of the aisle. You heard a couple from Fox News there. Here's one from CBS News. This was on 60 Minutes. Scott Pelley talking to, I think this is Leon Panetta, the Secretary of State under Obama. Again, same story. No matter what year it is, no matter what time it is, no matter what the situation is, you're supposed to believe that Iran's always been just weeks away.
In an interview with CBS News, Leon Panetta says that despite efforts to disrupt their nuclear program, the Iranians have reached a point where they can assemble a bomb in a year or potentially less.
Now, this is what scares me. When the establishments of both parties are saying the same thing that continue to be false. That makes me think, well, what's going on here? Like, it's very suspicious that in a bipartisan fashion, they could be this wrong for this long of a time. I'm going to go back even further now. We're going to go back to 2007. This is September of 2007. This is 18 years ago. John McCain did a nice little rendition of, rest in peace, Brian Wilson, of the Beach Boys song Bob Moran with Bomb Moran. They were concerned that they could get it any second now.
Beach Boys song Bomb Moran. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Anyway.
Yeah, let's just start World War III. Look, I don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. It's not my preference. But also, I'm not buying the idea from the people that have been wrong for 18 years are all of a sudden this week right. And if you have a better reason to bomb Iran, just tell us. You're like, hey, we're sick of them funding Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthi rebels and ISIS in Syria and the Arab Spring and Libya and Egypt. And they're just general pain in the butt. Okay, you don't have to lie to me, though. To the phones we go. This is Brent in Lake Weatherford. Your thoughts on the Israel-Iran strikes on WBAP?
I tell you what, World War I, they assassinated Ferdinand. I think he was the prime minister in Austria. And if you really read up on all that stuff, it just kind of mushroomed. I know it's a whole different situation now, but you look what happened then, and you'd be better to look at it instead of me. I just remember that from I'm 73, when I was a little kid. But you never know what these guys are going to do. To me, the most dangerous guy on the planet is still Putin. And I hope to hell he never gets cancer, because I just don't trust that guy. I think he would just soon go out and light up the whole earth. So
yeah, and he actually has the technology. If he has the desire to hit us with a nuclear missile, he probably could.
Well, I don't know about the supersonic stuff.
Well, how about this? More so than Iran.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
agreed.
That's like you having a hand grenade and they got firecrackers. I mean, Iran, they can't do anything but talk about it.
Yeah, and they can fund terrorists and they can annoy us with the Houthi rebels and Hamas and Hezbollah and ISIS and whatnot. They're not a direct threat to us, but they sure are a pain in the butt. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, you'll hear from the Heritage Foundation on the Israel and Iran attacks. Coming up next on The James Show, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Happy Friday, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. We are in a hot situation today. We are seeing Israel and Iran trade strikes, and part of the Iranian strike that was in retaliation that's happening. They say on Friday night, they're, 9-10 hours ahead of us? It's already dark there. And it looks like the United States is helping Israel shoot down some of the Iranian missiles that are being fired in response. So guess what? We're in another hot war. Yay. Here to make a little more sense of what's going on with some updates, Daniel Flesch from the Heritage Foundation. Welcome to the James Show. He's from the Allison Center that handles this foreign policy stuff. And so national security concerns. Why are we roped into this? Just because we're such good friends with Israel?
Well, good afternoon, James. That's certainly part of it, but we must recognize that this fight is not just an Israeli fight, it's actually an American fight as well. So the Iranian regime for nearly over 40 years has said a constant slogan of death to Israel and death to the United States. But that's more than just a slogan. It's a matter of state policy. So right now, it's not that we're being roped into a war. We should certainly support our greatest ally in the Middle East, a democratic nation, particularly if it stands up to a theocratic regime like the Iranians. President Trump has said Iran will never attain a nuclear weapon. And it seems that the only way to ensure that is through military force right now. And the final point I'd quickly make is that this is, unlike a lot of critics out there who say this is going to lead to a wider regional escalation, I'd say the opposite is actually true. In the Middle East, at least as Israel has shown over the last nearly 2 years, the way to de-escalate is actually to escalate, to meet force with force. And moreover, this is a opportunity now to end a war that Iran has been waging against not only Israel, but more importantly and understandably against the United States. The first days of the Iranian Revolution, they held American officers captive in the embassy for over 400 days. So again, this is a war very much with the United States as well.
All right, we're talking with Daniel Flesch from the Heritage Foundation. Yeah, I'm thinking this is going to be a lot like the exchange that they had in April of last year, where Iran was acting like this is the beginning of hell for Israel, and it was over in a week.
I think this will be a little bit more, mainly because that exchange was Iran initiating a strike and Israel responding, and then in October, Iran again initiated a strike, and Israel escalated in a response, and that did not engender a further response from Iran. Again, escalate to de-escalate. But this one, given the timetable that the president said of 60 days to give the Iranians an opportunity to negotiate, that was up the other day, and now we're outside that window. And the IAEA, the UN organization that oversees atomic nuclear energy, came out with a report that says Iran is in violation of its non-proliferation agreements. And that's important because the first time they're doing this, and there's ample evidence to show that they are very close to having multiple nuclear warheads. So the moment now is Israel's been escalating here, understandably, and they're going against the regime, not just nuclear sites and not just military sites, but the regime sites. And the rhetoric coming out of Israel right now is this is not going to be over in one day. Already Iran has responded, and right now Israel is deliberating how to have a counter response. But this will probably take multiple days, if not a couple of weeks, and it really depends on where the escalation ladder goes, both for the Israelis as well as the Iranians.
We're talking with Daniel Flesch from the Heritage Foundation about Israel and Iran trading strikes. And Daniel, I think the real the thing we need to get out of Iran isn't so much their nuclear program. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of them having nukes. But I think the more important point would be, can y'all stop funding Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthi rebels, ISIS, the Arab Spring, and it's just stop being the world's top funder of terrorism?
You're 100% correct. The three main threats that Iran poses to the region, I'd say in order of ascending priority, is one, its ballistic missile threat, which has the largest inventory of missiles in the region. Two, on top of that, is the support for proxy networks around the region. Now, I put that two and not one right now because what Israel's been able to do since October 7th is effectively dismantle that network of proxies. Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon. It's responding to the Houthis in Yemen. Assad in Syria, which was a land bridge for Iran to reach Hezbollah and resupply them in Lebanon, has fallen. And now the main thing is the nuclear program. And for the regime itself, if the Ayatollah is the king, the nuclear program is the queen of its chessboard. And if you take that away from them, suddenly the Iranian regime has very little leverage or even capability to respond to any sort of attack like we're seeing right now.
Well, as it stands right now, Daniel Flesh, how long do you think Iran can keep this going? You say they have the largest stockpile of missiles, but I don't think they can keep this up for very long.
So we can quantify this. They've had, it was estimated before the October 7th war began, they had about 3,000 missiles, of which 1,000, give or take, could actually reach Israel. They have a larger stockpile of shorter range missiles, but the ones that could actually reach Israel, about 1,000. And in October, Israel Strike then did a really important thing, which was destroy the production capability of those missiles. So essentially, and every day since then, since October, Iran has been trying to reconstitute those production facilities and rebuild missiles. So every day that there's not either an agreement for it to stop its nuclear program is a day that Iran gets stronger. And Iran can only launch about 100 missiles at one time because it's limited by launcher capacity. So really, you can actually put a clock on how many rounds Iran could launch against Israel, and it's limited. Now, it's not limited to a day or two. It's going to be a few days or a few weeks, depending on how they ration it. But at the end of the day, Iran has a much more limited stockpile than Israel does.
Well, that's good info to know. Good stuff. Thank you very much. This is Daniel Flesh from the Allison Center at the Heritage Foundation, America's #1 conservative think tank out of D.C. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Very good. Thank you.
See, that was fairly optimistic. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. You're going to hear some new live updates when we return on the James Show on the Israel-Iran exchange of force here. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there. Happy Friday, fellow Texans. I'm James Parker. Snooze Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Our top story of the day, Iran and Israel are exchanging missiles, and it seems to have died down since the James show began. But in this latest flurry that was still happening when the show intro was playing, the reports are Iran fired about 100 missiles for tonight. Granted, they're like 10 hours ahead of us. And most of them did not hit their targets. A few did. There were a few other issues with debris falling from neutralized missiles. But other than that, it didn't seem to be very effective. Now, we have run through the history here on the threat that Iran is months away or weeks away or days away from a nuclear weapon. And I gave you audio cuts from 2024, 2023, 2021, 2015, 2013, 2012, and going all the way back to 2007 of the claim being made. Now, that doesn't say on a long enough time scale that will forever be wrong, but it has been wrong for at least 18 years. So what's different now? What's different about this time? Did we actually finally get days away from it? How do you know? How do you trust the people that have been telling you this erroneously for 18 years that in year 19 they got it correct? So if you're skeptical, so am I. However, is Iran a bad actor who funds some of the biggest problems we have in the region, whether it's Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthi rebels, ISIS, Arab Spring? You know, their money's behind so much of the terrorism, more so than pretty much anyone else on the planet. They are the planet Earth's #1 state sponsor of terrorism. It'd be nice to see them get slapped down and act a little better. I also like the idea of weakening the people, the powers that be, because if there's any country that could use a revolution, it's Iran. Because, you know, there's a lot of countries that are sort of on the brink, like, you know, you're kind of iffy about Libya having a revolution. Yeah, Gaddafi's a basket case, but it gets a lot worse than this guy. It's hard to imagine that for Iran. Yes, Iran's a basket case. Does it get much worse than Iran? Geez, not really. Who? Haiti? North Korea? I mean, there's not a whole lot. And I'm not talking about the Iranian people at all. That's another reason I'm fairly optimistic about this. That is the country on planet Earth that has my feelings are so disparate between their leadership and the actual people. The actual people of Iran, the actual Persians, great people, great history. They seem to behave well when they immigrate here and not cause any problems. And their leadership, not so much. You know, I'm way optimistic about Iran because the people there, some of them remember in the 70s before the Islamic Revolution, women didn't have to wear headscarves. Some did, but it wasn't a requirement. They didn't have the morality police running around swinging sticks, making sure you're not having too much fun in the street. They had bikinis. And then that's one of the big litmus tests I have because I can be kind of shallow and reductive. But I think the point still stands. If you're in a country that is so, you know, morally uptight that bikinis are not allowed, that's where I start to have a problem. That's a good sign. My other measuring stick is economic. What's the toilet situation? Do I have like my own bathroom, like with a walled off stall? Do I have a community bathroom at the end of the hall, like in the second world countries? Or do I have a hole in the ground and toilet paper? Please. So there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic. Now, in the short term, it's easy to be pessimistic. And let's run through that real quick, since we did the historic whatnot. One of the first things Trump did when he was in office, this goes back to February 4th. He signed an executive order. He'd only been in power for 2 weeks, and he's already doing it.
Why is Iran happy to sign it if it's Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out Soleimani?
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do, not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That'd be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left, and they shouldn't be able to do it. And Biden should have said that, but he never did. I don't know why. Lack of intelligence, perhaps.
Right, so this isn't coming out of nowhere. We fast forward to April of this year, and there was some meetings that were going on with Iran. Now, this is before the meeting. After the meeting, Trump said, bro, you got 60 days to get your head out of your backside. And apparently this is day 61, supposedly. But let's go back and revisit Trump speaking right before the last Iranian meeting. This is from April 7th of this year.
On Iran, two questions, please. First, if you can give us more details about where the meeting on Saturday is going to take place.
I can't tell you that. I can just tell you there's a major meeting going on between us and Iran, and that'll take place on Saturday, and it's at top level.
And the second question about this. A lot of people think that those talks are not going to lead anywhere because the Iranians will never give up their nuclear program. If diplomacy fails, is the United States, under your leadership, ready to take military action to destroy the Iranian nuclear program and remove this threat?
I think if the talks aren't successful with Iran, I think Iran is going to be in great danger. And I hate to say it, great danger, because they can't have a nuclear weapon.
So is that a yes?
You know, it's not a complicated formula. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's all there is.
So
can't have
US
it.
ready?
Right now we have countries that have nuclear power that shouldn't have it. But I'm sure we'll be able to negotiate out of that too as part of this later on down the line. But Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the talks aren't successful, I actually think it'll be a very bad day for Iran if that's the case. Yeah.
Okay, so now this is what he was talking about. This is the results. They're not going to like the result. They're going to be decimated. They're going to be destroyed. Bad things are going to happen. That's what happened. That's what happened about 12 hours ago or so. And I think that's going to keep happening until Iran comes up with a better attitude, pretty much. You guys are grounded. We're going to take away some of your toys, and we're going to see if that straightens you up just a little bit. They're getting slapped down. That's all. Iran's not a real threat to us. They're a threat to Israel, our buddy. But things are looking just like you kind of would have guessed it would have turned out if you listen to these clips from February and April. We are not surprised by this at all. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Are you optimistic like me that this will probably be done in a couple weeks, or you think we're kicking off another protracted forever war with Iran? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP, and we're talking about Israel and Iran getting it on, not in a good way, not like that. I mean, in the baddest way, in the worst of ways, exchanging missiles. And so if you're just now turning on the radio and hadn't been paying attention, there was a big strike last night, Israel targeting Iran's nuclear facilities, some other military strikes, some other military leaders, and some nuclear scientists. Iran was responding earlier today, but it died down right as the James Show was starting. And so now we're left here with a couple of interesting points of discussion. I was pointing out earlier in the show that you have been told for the last 20 years, or at least for the last 18 years that I have documented, that Iran is just days away. I mean, months, weeks, maybe days away from getting a nuclear weapon. I played the audio from 2024, 2023, 2021, 2015, 2013, 2012, and 2007. So this is a regular thing that has gone on both Fox News. It's gone on 60 Minutes. It's been said by the Secretary of State for the last 3-4 presidents. And just one example here.
In an interview with CBS News, Leon Panetta says that despite efforts to disrupt their nuclear program, the Iranians have reached a point where they can assemble a bomb in a year or potentially less.
So this is something that was agreed upon during the Bush administration, by Bush officials, during the Obama administration, by Obama officials, Trump, Biden, now Trump again. They all have been telling you that Iran is days away. So if they've been wrong all this time, are they right now? They might be. Their track record is terrible, but you think on a long enough time scale, that prediction is going to have to come true. You can't keep people from having what is essentially just knowledge, a piece of knowledge forever. It's nice to delay it. But Crow writes in a good thought process here on a direct message from X. Do you follow me in WBAP on X at James Parker Show? He says, what if the estimates were right every time, but each time those nukes were completed? He said he listened to a podcast earlier that claimed Iran already has 8 or 9 nukes. Now, that's a possibility we hadn't discussed yet. I've thought of that and heard other people to discuss it, but I'm glad you brought that up so we can do it on the James Show. So maybe each one of these times our intelligence officials, our predictions were correct. And so maybe they do have 8 or 9 nukes. Now, that brings up a whole nother slew of questions. Is if they already have nukes, what kind of risk are we putting by bombing these facilities? Are we about to make a dirty bomb? Are we about to scatter fissile material and radiate some innocent people that have nothing to do with the Middle East internecine conflict? Yikes. Also, that brings up the question, well, if they already have 8 or 9 nukes and we haven't been visited with any negative consequences over them having that for the last 18 years, then is it really that important that they don't possess them? Seeing as how they've had it for a couple decades with no negative consequences. And that's one of the counterexamples that makes this an interesting debate, too, is that, look, if it's my preference, if I could just wave a magic wand, does Iran have nuclear weapons or not? I would say no. But there is a country that's more theocratic, that's more down the fundamentalist Muslim rabbit hole than Iran. There's a couple of them, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Now, Afghanistan can barely put together a herd of goats, but Pakistan's had nuclear weapons for a couple decades now. What negative consequences have been visited upon the world by that? None. And look, Pakistan, terrible. These guys are so kind of anti-American, but I would just want to say pro-Islamic more than anti-American, that these were the guys that were hiding bin Laden until 2011. Okay, and they have a nuke, and there hadn't been any negative consequences. I understand what the fear-mongering is. I understand what the worst-case scenario is. Even if they can't deliver a nuclear warhead onto American territory, they could give some bad actors fissile material, some radioactive material to make a dirty bomb. Well, has it happened in the last 20 years? Again, maybe on a long enough time scale, you will be proven correct, but I have the counterexample of recent history on my side. So if they're making some targeted strikes, and this is going to be the end of it, and they're just going to slap down Iran, cool, great. This sounds like just what happened last April. That seemed to be like not that big of a deal on a long-term scale. But the concern here is, are we getting into another forever war? Are we getting into another Afghanistan where we're going to be there for 20-something years? Or now a Ukraine where we've been there for over 3 years now? 800 288 9227. 800 288 9227. This is Jeannie in Collinsville. You're on WBAP. Go, Jeannie.
Let me get that off speaker. I apologize.
Oh, no. Thank you for taking it off speaker. Well worth the wait.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I bought a vehicle from a dealership. Nice guy. I didn't know where he was from. He was just a salesman. And somehow we got on, stuff that was going on. This was a year ago. I don't know how we got on the subject. But he was from Iran. He was dual citizenship. And he told me that people from Israel need to be eradicated, all of them. He hated them. His country hated them. I just thought that was sick. It's a matter of time. They do think that. It's not a joke. And how can we live in a world that we're just waiting for our neighbor to, walk next door and whack you? You can't have that. I think they're correct in what they're doing. Let Israel protect themselves. You don't like war, but Iran wants war against Israel. They hate them. It's sick.
Well, there's not like an Iran that encompasses everybody. It's not a monolithic bloc. There's no doubt the government wants to eradicate Israel, and there's no doubt that there's a strong fundamentalist Islamic streak within the Iranian population. But there's a big secular streak too. And I don't mean just secular like non-believers. There's such thing as secular Muslims. And in fact, the Iranians that I knew here in Dallas, the few that I've known, they didn't make their wives wear headscarves. They didn't make their daughters wear headscarves. In fact, I've seen some of their daughters in a hot tub in a bikini. Thank you very much. And so they're not all that fundamentalist ilk that, blow stuff up. Some of them just want to be doctors, or in Jessica's case, a veterinarian. I
agree with that. This guy didn't have a girlfriend that had to wear all that stuff either. He just looked like a guy next door. You wouldn't have known he had thoughts like that.
Yeah, that's unsettling, isn't it? That hadn't been my experience, but I can't tell you you're wrong. And I'm sure those people definitely exist. Though, like, what do you think the proportion is of it, though? The secular, good Iranians that, as soon as the Ayatollahs get knocked out of power, will go back to the sort of Western, almost lifestyle that they had in the 70s, or the fundamentalist ones? What do you think the split is?
I think it's the majority of those people do not like Israel people. I think the majority is probably well over 50%. And so when we finally do knock out the bad actors, it's going to be interesting to see, do they want Western help, or do they like and they shouldn't have to want Western help. Maybe they like their religion and their backgrounds. And all
some
of
of them do, but I think some of them have seen pictures of their mom not having to wear a headscarf in public, or pictures of their mom and dad going to a rock concert in the mid-'70s, or picture of their mom actually wearing whatever bathing suit that she wants. And I bet you a bunch of them long for that. They want to listen to rock and roll or rap music. They want to wear blue jeans. They want to be Western. They don't want to have to wear a headscarf when it's 102 degrees. And I hope you're wrong. I hope the majority of them is more secular and pro-American than we can give them credit for. 800-288-9227. We'll continue with this discussion next. Iran versus Israel. Is this a slap fight, or is this the next big war? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. Happy Friday. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. If you want the Rhino list, send me a link, James, or just send me an email, james@wbap.com. I'll send you the link back, or you can send me a Facebook message, Twitter message, Instagram, whatever. You know how to find it. It's the 36 Republicans that you sent to the State House in Austin that turned and voted for Burrows as Speaker and joined the Democrats on so many of these other big votes. We have a map and a list. Find out if you're in one of the districts, and we'll get rid of them. Top story, though, Israel and Iran trading strikes. Seems like it's died down. I don't know. Maybe for the rest of the night. Israeli officials are now putting on helmets on the live feed we have going on here in the studio and going into rescue efforts for the few missiles that hit in this latest salvo that kind of stopped around the time the show is starting. It stopped. It's been quiet enough. There's nothing else on the radar, so they're going to go see if we can rescue anyone that needs to be rescued. If there's anyone that needs to be rescued, the damage here is minimal. They keep showing the picture of one missile strike on one building over and over and over, which kind of lends me to the belief that there's not a whole lot else that's gone wrong there. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Over here on Facebook, David says this is a pretext for the USA to use their huge bunker bombs. Yeah, maybe so. We'll see. You're probably right. David in Marble Falls is on the phone. You're on WBAP. Go, David.
Yes, sir. I think you're right on one thing. And when you were saying that, were they lying when they said they had it way back in the early 90s, et cetera, right? I think they were telling the truth. But here's the problem, delivery. I mean, look at North Korea. They've been trying for almost as long to develop a good delivery system. It's harder than you would think. The other problem that is also there is, heck, after World War II, Richland, Washington, they made the second bomb that was delivered to Japan, right? Are you ready?
Okay.
The first high school class that graduated in, I think, 1963. The one after, the three after that, in other words, the first four classes, 50% of the kids who were not working in a plant have died or had cancer. 50%. Okay? So a lot of these people who are working in these things, their survival rate is not very good. That's one. Number two, people say, oh, there was no big stuff in Iran when we got in. There was one little thing which they had tons of yellow cake was found. Now, yellow cake is only a short way around from a nuke. So we got to them in time for I don't think Iran ever had the nuke. But I really do believe, Iraq had the nuke, but I really do think they've had a nuke for a while. The question is, how survivable is it to be delivered? In other words, how accurate? Like, they're supposed to have launched a lot of, missiles, not just, drones like have been done lately.
Right, and they're having a hard time hitting targets that are as close as Israel, so there's no way they could get it to us.
Right. That is exactly right.
Not saying you're wrong, but what's your answer, David, in Marble Falls, for why we haven't seen a dirty bomb? Okay, we can't deliver the fissile material in a nice, tidy missile, but we can hand off fissile material to some bad actor, some terrorist group, and they can go explode a dirty bomb in Jackson, Mississippi, or some other urban area.
Well, actually, our biggest problem is not a dirty bomb. It is biohazards. I mean, they've got stuff, almost any nation in the world has got stuff if they wanted to do it, but they're afraid of the same retaliation. You've got stuff you could put in Lake Dallas or Lake Louisville, whatever, and not very much of it. And a lot of people would die, but we could retaliate the same way. And by the way, they could carry that in less volume than it takes for half of a briefcase.
All right, everybody.
Have
a good weekend. Thank you, David in Marble Falls. Didn't have a hard enough time going to sleep tonight anyway. David just gave you something to think about. Coming up next, we have to have a very important discussion. Do you have a moral obligation to stop for rioters who are blocking the road? I say no. Ron DeSantis says no. What do you say? 800-288-9227. As we're gearing up for another weekend of protest, this is a hot topic today. Do you have a moral obligation to stop for rioters blocking the road? That's next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Happy Friday, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Welcome back to the big show. I know, good to see you too. You know, I wanted to take one more call on the Israel-Iran situation. Ari in Dallas says he is from Israel, and I haven't talked to anybody from Israel. I'd like to talk to someone from Iran, too, if you want to call in, 800-288-9227. But as someone from Israel, Ari, welcome to the James Show. What's your thoughts on what's going on in foreign policy today?
I think everything is happening. You know, the main reason it's happening is because you see the Hamas with Chet in Hebrew, they winning all the times because we are fighting them with tweezers. We're always fighting them with tweezers. The reason is they're using the international law. They're using the international rules. They're saying, oh, you can't really hurt any, people like innocent people. They're claiming anyone that participates there is innocent. And because of it, that's why this fight is prolonging for so long. That's why we never got the hostages out. Is because we're fighting them with tweezers. And we literally fighting them with our hands tied. And that's the reason we never win. And that's what's also happening in Iran. We are bombing only places where the military is there. I mean, I'm against, God forbid, killing anyone innocent. But they taking it to the far extreme and using it against us. And that's why we're always losing. And that's why this thing is lasting from October 7, 2023 until now, and it doesn't stop. We need to have a leader that fights properly, not with tweezers. That's what's really concerning me as Israeli.
So do you think today counts as playing with tweezers?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I appreciate what Netanyahu is doing, but I think we need a far more right extremist, maybe like Moshe Feiglin, someone like that would take the country.
Well, hang on. What are you looking for? Are you looking for like a Yom Kippur war or a 6 days war?
I'm looking basically after what happened in October 7, we should have bombed the place completely. The entire place of Gaza. I mean, to show no mercy. When you show no mercy, then you actually show mercy towards your people. But when you show mercy towards your enemy, you actually show the opposite towards your people. That's actually something that white sages also say. You have to show a really strong hand against your enemy. That's what we are not doing. And because we're not doing it, that's why we're losing the war. And that's why we have so many hostages. And they can do it again. They're happy about what they're doing because they know they can kidnap people. And then they say, oh, you can't hurt me because there's international rules. They will go to the international court in Hague or use the UK, France, whatever, bribe them with Qatar. I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to win. But if we're going to show that we are strong and we are not, we're going to fight the way we should fight, then we're going to win the war. But we're not doing it. And unfortunately, our prime minister is not doing it either.
Okay. Well, it was great to hear your side of this. This is Ari in Dallas via Israel. Thank you very much for calling in the James Show.
Thanks.
All right. Coming up next, my next issue here is a discussion that has been amped up because a couple guys have popped off in the news. Ron DeSantis saying we're not going to tolerate riots that happen in Florida. We don't do that. If you break the law, if there's any property destruction, you attack cops, you burn down a building, you throw a brick at a car, we're going to track you down and we're going to put you in jail. But even more sensational than that, the sheriff of Brevard County, Sheriff Ivy, says peaceful protests are welcome, but violent rioters will be killed.
And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, We will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not.
Is that beyond the pale? A sheriff, we're going to kill you graveyard dead? Because it really backs up to the real question. Do you have a moral obligation, legal obligation? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I think you should, but whatever. Without the little nuance there, let's just ask morally speaking, ethically speaking, do you have any obligation to stop for rioters blocking the road? Ron DeSantis says no. The sheriff of Brevard County says no. I say no. I think of Reginald Denny. I think of all the people who have had negative consequences visited upon them because they did what they thought was the right thing and stop when someone was blocking the road. But I also hear a whole lot of people say, I'm not stopping. If you're blocking the road in front of me, I'm just going to run right over you. Well, I hear a whole lot of people saying that, but I don't see a whole lot of people doing that. Because when you get in the heat of the moment, I think it's really easy to say, yeah, I would run over somebody. But when you have a human being in front of you and your foot's on the brake pedal, look, you're not a sociopath. It's not so easy for you to just stomp the gas and run over a fellow human being. But let's have this discussion now because we have some protests coming and a bunch of roads are going to be blocked all across America tomorrow. Do you think there's a moral obligation to stop for rioters blocking the road? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Happy Friday. We'll get back to the discussion on whether or not you have a moral obligation to stop for rioters blocking the road. But I asked, and I actually received, this is Christopher from Dallas, but you're from Iran. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Well, Christopher doesn't seem like
Iran.
so it doesn't seem like a traditional Persian name. What's your real name?
Saeed.
Saeed. Why not go with Saeed? Christopher works.
Well, when I came here in 1984, Iranians were not the most popular kids. And I came here to go to school. And so, therefore, when I became a U.S. citizen, I added Christopher to just avoid some of those confrontations.
I totally understand that. Sorry we weren't more welcoming in the early 80s. Kind of a sensitive subject at the time. So how old were you when you came here?
19.
Okay, so you remember Iran before the revolution?
Yes, sir. I was in Iran before the revolution, and actually my passport was in the U.S. Embassy in 1979, waiting to be approved to come here in a U.S. visa, and student visa. And of course, didn't
something happened.
Because,
yeah,
what happened in 1979? So yeah.
I love talking to older Iranians because that blew. I didn't meet an older Iranian until I was like in my late 20s. And I asked about the pictures that float around. Like, y'all really just walked around without headscarves? You go to the beach in a bikini or in a public pool? I'm just amazed at how westernized it was.
I was actually listening to your comment about an hour ago or so. It's just coming out of my office. And we used to actually joke about we're going to petition the U.S. government to put a 51st state star on the flag for our Iranian state. Because the American influence in Iran was so strong and so obvious, actually, and we loved it. It was great, and so it's unfortunate what
Which makes it heartbreaking that we're such adversaries now. Like, you and I aren't adversaries, but our governments are so adversarial now. So what do you think about this exchange of missiles between Iran and Israel?
Well, I tell you what, I'm all for it. I'm glad, and I think deep inside. There's going to be about, I'm not going to say 70, but about 90% of the 70 million Iranians are really excited about what's happening. Because, and I want to go back to November, when President Trump was elected, I got calls from my cousins in Iran, and they were saying, yes, we were so excited somebody in the White House eventually that is just going to go ahead and come to our help and aid us. So the Iranian people are just waiting for it. Actually, I've talked to Iranian family members that they say, I wish they would stop talking and I wish they would do it. Well, last night is exactly what happened. They did it. And I wish they go to a bigger scale. Again, I don't want to lose any civilian lives, but I love what they did. It was just, precision attack, just kill those, can I say bastards on your radio?
You can say bastards.
Kill those bastards that I just brought the country into the level it is right now. And again, Iranian people are very excited. And I have a message for President Trump and Mr. Rubio, our Secretary of State. There are, again, about 70 million people that are just ready to do whatever it takes. If they had a good leader, solid leader, and it looks like the Shah's son is kind of emerging as a leader in the free world as the spokesperson for the government. But they are willing to do whatever it takes. If they get a little bit of support, a little bit of leadership, a little bit of help, they're willing to uprise and just topple this government. Again, you don't have to worry about the Iranian people, shedding a tear for these jerks that were killed last night.
Well,
and I'm talking from a personal experience, talking to family members who are in Iran or friends that I have. They're actually, if they could, they would get on the streets and would actually celebrate.
I'm so glad you called, because where I grew up out in East Texas, we didn't have Iranians. We had whites, blacks, and Mexicans. That's it. So the only thing I knew is what was on the TV. And when I actually got to meet people from Iran, after I moved to Dallas in my 20s, and actually got to meet people from Iran, actually older people from Iran. Oh man, that changed my view of this conflict so much, and in a good way. I'm amazingly optimistic about the Iranian people because of people like you, Chris.
Well, and my wife is American, and she's blonde-headed, blue-eyed as they come. And we had gone to Iran before. I tell you what, she got a better treatment in Iran the moment they found out she was American than I did, who was born in that country. So they love the Americans. This is just one of those things. Unfortunately, the media doesn't portray it. But they love the American people and even sometimes the American government. but they love the American people and the respect and awe that is for the American people in Iran, here or in Iran, is just it's actually admiring. It's awesome.
Well, I know my experience has been anecdotal, but in the little bit of time I've hung out with people of Iranian descent, they've all been very cool. They've all been very civilized and well educated and fun to talk to, and a sense of humor. And I hate people associating Iran with the Ayatollahs and what is seen coming out of their government.
That's the unfortunate part of it that we all have to deal with for the past 46 years. You're
all
right.
Well, Chris, call back again when this comes up again, and you'll be my Iranian spokesman on the James Show. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate that, James. Thanks for taking my call. Keep up the good work, and hopefully in a few weeks we'll talk about better news.
All right, there he is. Christopher from Dallas via Iran. But back to the other topic, because this is something that's going to be affecting us this weekend. We're going to have some roads blocked in North Texas. There's going to be roads blocked across all of America. And I hear a whole bunch of people talking noise. Oh, if you go block a road in front of me, I'm just going to run over you. Well, I know you like to say that, but I don't see it happening. So some of you are just running your mouth. But is there a moral obligation to stop for riders blocking the road? Aaron in North Richland Hills, you're on WBAP.
First of all, James, hey, man, what an awesome conversation you just had with Chris. That's awesome to hear something like that. It makes me feel more appreciative of what's going on over there and thinking this isn't going to be a long-term war at all. So, not to change subjects, but James, my wife and I met you over in Keller. I don't know if you remember me, but we had a good time. Appreciate that.
Cool, Aaron.
Protest thing. Yeah, back to the protest. I'm the type of person, I am pro-protest as it gets. Like, you have that right in this country. But you do not have a right to take up the city streets and people getting to their houses, getting to sports games with their kids, getting to work, whatever they need to do. I would come up to the line and say, look, you got 10 seconds. My phone is going on with its camera right now. You got 10 seconds to move. If not, I am going. And I would make sure I have it on video record that I gave them every opportunity to get out of the way.
You would kill another human being with your car?
No. I would just go about 5, 10, 15 miles an hour. And if they don't get out of the way, they don't get out of the way. That's on them.
Okay.
I wasn't for it.
Listen, Aaron, I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not trying to say you're full of it. But I've been hearing this on talk radio for almost 23 years now. People are like, if a protester gets in front of me, I'm running over him. No, you're not. It's not that easy to kill another human being. You're not a sociopath.
Yeah, and I get that, but I'm sorry, but if I feel like I'm in danger or my family's in danger and they're in the car, especially if my wife and kids are in the car, no, you're not going to beat my car. You're not going to throw bricks or whatever you're doing. No, you're going to get out of the way. I've got to get to point B, and you need to get out of the way. But like I said, I would have it on camera, though. I gave every opportunity, and I wouldn't floor it. Like I said, I would just start going about 5, 8, 9, 10 miles an hour. Gradually keep moving. If you don't get out of the way, that's on you. I didn't floor it. You need to move.
All right, Aaron,
You know?
I'm not saying I don't agree or I don't like your attitude. I'm just saying maybe avoid downtown between noon and 2 tomorrow, especially the North Akron area.
Don't worry about
of downtown.
My kid's got baseball. My kid's got a baseball to run, so I'm not even getting close to any of that.
All right, well, thanks for calling the
That's how
James
you
Show.
put yourself in that kind of situation.
All right, I'm going to ask you the same question Aaron in North Richland Hills just asked. And thank you for coming out to the last James Show meetup at Manny G's in Keller. 800-288-9227. Also coming up, name that artist for a 4-pack to win Rangers tickets. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. We're going to play Name That Artist in just a second. How do you know if you want to call in and try and win some tickets to see the Texas Rangers? Well, it's the Father's Day edition. Thank you very much to Joseph Haidt from The Morning Show for putting together a special Father's Day edition of Name That Artist. So if you can name all 10 of these artists and you want to go see the Texas Rangers coming up this Wednesday, June 18th, 7 p.m., Globe Life Field, Kansas City Royals, Dollar Hot Dog Night. If you can name all 10 of these songs. All right, so there's the Father's Day edition of Name That Artist. If you know all 10 of those and you want to go see the Rangers this coming Wednesday at 7 p.m. Globe Life Field, call in right now, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Now, if you call in and you get on hold, I'm going to play the montage again, and the next segment, you're going to write them all down, and then I'll go to you, and you just list them out. And that's weird that Joseph didn't have any hip-hop songs in the montage. We had country, we had some classic Vegas hits, we had an old R&B hit, we had kind of a rock hit. That's so weird. Is there no hip-hop songs about a father? We'll just leave that hanging there. Mike and Garland, you're on WBAP. Go.
Yeah, hello, James. About the crowds getting around cars. Well, number one, I think this needs to be publicly announced in a law. I call it the 3 honk law, where, I mean, let's say if a peaceful crowd is in front of you and they're not doing any harm or dangerous or causing fear, then I think the cops need to disperse that. But if an angry mob gets around your car, you know, the violence we see, getting in your windows, banging on it, jumping on it, baseball bats trying to bust your windshield, in that situation, I kind of feel like I would honk 3 times and step on it. You know, I'm sorry about running over people, and I know exactly what you're saying, but my life is now in danger, and I feel like we need a 3 honk law. If a dangerous mob gets around a car, threatens you, and causes you fear for your personal safety, I think you should be able to honk 3 times, and that's the signal. Folks, you better get out of the way because I'm fixing to step on it.
Man, that is kind of a brilliant idea, Mike and Garland. I haven't heard of the 3 honk law. Now, some other people are saying kind of what you're saying. I got an email from Rick in Past Christiane who says, I hate the annoying Nazis too, but I'm not running anyone over unless they're directly threatening me. He didn't go to the specifics of the 3 honk rule, but as far as carjacking laws go, if someone's trying to carjack you, someone's trying to open your car in a threatening manner, you can just shoot them, no questions asked. That's what I was taught in your little handgun training school or whatever. But yeah, 3 honks. Maybe it's just like the universal signal for all protesters. If they're doing 3 honks, then get out of the way because they mean business. I like that, Mike.
Yeah, I believe in a warning. I believe that everything, and it needs to be clearly stated, too. Sometimes things aren't clear. In fact, I don't even know what I can do. So this needs to be clear because it is a huge problem. And I like the three honk law.
I love the three honk law.
Twitter.
I might adopt that.
Right,
I might not give you credit on
go
future
ahead.
shows, but if in future shows you hear me refer to the three honk law, that's that the credit for that goes to Mike and Garland. In fact, give him 7 points. We're keeping score over there in the producer booth. 7 points for Mike and Garland for the three honk rule. Help me remember that on future shows too when this comes up. All right. The exciting conclusion to the Father's Day edition of Name That Artist next. If you want to try and win some Rangers tickets, get on the phone now. We'll play the montage again. You can write it in on a notepad file on your phone or a piece of paper that you find in your office. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there. You know what? Happy early Father's Day. This is the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. You might be wondering, well, James, aren't you a father? You didn't make a very big deal about it. Yeah, I'm a father. I have 4 kids. If you want to know, 9, 11, 13, 14. Here's why I didn't make a big deal about Father's Day till the last segment of the show. No one cares. No one cares. They just invented it because there was a Mother's Day, and someone said, what about Father's Day? They're like, fine, we'll give you a day too. We're not even going to have any sales, or no one's going to take a day off, or the restaurants aren't even going to be busy. Well, you might get a pair of socks or a tie. Just don't even do it. If that's what we're going to do, if it's just a giveaway, not interested. But it will make a great episode of Name That Artist. Joseph put together a Father's Day special on Name That Artist. If you want to try and win a 4-pack of Rangers tickets, call in right now, 800-288-9227. And if you're already on hold, get out a piece of paper or a notepad file on your phone. Write down the artist to these 10 songs. When it died. I'm not going to cry. It's almost Father's Day. All right, any last entrants? Call in right now, 800-288-9227. It's not too late, 800-288-9227. All right, we're going to roll into our first contestant here. Meet Stephanie from Weatherford. Are you ready for Name That Artist, Stephanie?
I'm ready.
All right, let's hear your list. Ready, go.
Luther Vandross.
Oh, wow, yeah.
George Strait.
Yep.
Madonna. Wayne Newton.
Well, see, I missed that one in the pre-show meeting. I missed Wayne Newton. Go ahead.
George Michael.
Okay.
Harry Chapin. Now, this is a couple, but I think it's the Undisputed Truth. Or the Temptations. 2 people sing it.
Yeah, they did, and it was the Temptations in this version, but I missed that before the meeting, too, so you get a little grace. All right, you got 3 left. You're fine. Go.
Eric Clapton,
Yep.
Alan Jackson, and Elvis.
Oh, my goodness, you nailed it. We only needed 1 contestant today. Well done, Stephanie. You have won a 4-pack to go see the Texas Rangers play the Kansas City Royals. Globe Life Field coming up this Wednesday, June 18th, 7:05 p.m. It's Dollar Hot Dog Wednesday, too, presented by Texas Chili Company, so you're going to get a bonus on dinner there, too. So congratulations, Stephanie. Thanks for playing Name That Artist.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to put her on hold. We'll get her information. We email you tickets these days because this isn't the 90s. The rest of us losers, if we want tickets, we've got to go to TexasRangers.com. TexasRangers.com. All right, great show today. Come back. We're going to do this again on Monday. In the meantime, a couple things you need a heads up about. The next James Show meetup is going to be a comedy show. I'm opening for Alex Stein at Hyenas, June 29th. Doors at 7, show at 8, or doors at 6, show at 7. I don't know. Ask your phone. Your phone already knows. It's on Facebook and everything else. Also, if you need more James Show action over the weekend, That's what the podcast is for. So go find it wherever you listen to podcasts. But we also have a bunch of good videos and content that's on social media. So the regular stuff, the Facebook, the X, the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube, Rumble, all that stuff. I try and be in as many places as possible. And over the weekend, do me a favor. I need you, if you don't mind doing a little freelance work for WBAP, if you see one of these protests in your town, because I know there's a few of them that are going to be here, Dallas, Arlington, Denton, Fort Worth. I think they're all having one. They are even trying to put one together in Bug Tussle. If you can get some good video or at least pictures of it, send it in. I think the video is more important because sometimes I can pull good audio from it. So if you don't mind being a freelance reporter and checking out some of these protests, if you're already going to be in the area anyway, that would be super appreciated, and it gives you a chance to be a part of the James Show, even though it's in a non-compensated format. I would still, you'd have my appreciation. Isn't that compensation enough? Don't forget about Father's Day on Sunday. You got a couple days to get a gift, and here's the advice. Whatever he likes, get him some of that. If he likes bourbon, get him a bourbon. If he likes golf, get him a sleeve of golf balls. If he likes hunting or shooting, get him a box of bullets. You don't have to think too hard. You don't have to do another tie. You don't have to do anything expensive. Whatever he likes, just do that. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.